Zelda bosses seem to come in two different categories. You either love to fight them, or you think the sub-bosses are tougher than them. Now it's been a while since I played the original 2D Zelda classics, and since I play the 3D Zelda games more, I'm going to be focusing on those. This list will be counting bosses and dungeons, not the final bosses, and not the sub-bosses. Just the bosses that give you a heart container. Oh, and for those of you who think Phantom Ganon's going to be number 1 on my list, I'm going to exclude him so it's not predictable. He's still my favorite, but he's excluded. And when I get to the bosses who shouldn't have been a boss, the first boss from each game will not be counted, because those guys are usually supposed to be easy. I'll start off with the 5 I love to fight. Okay, this guy is so easy, he should be with the bosses who shouldn't be a boss. He's only got 4 basic attacks, all of them are easy to dodge, and you only have to use 1 item. So why do I like this guy? It's not so much the fight, it's so much the feeling of payback. This boss kidnapped your sister, tossed you out to die, and now you get to hit him in the head with a hammer that's almost as big as you. That's the perfect recipe for revenge. 4th place. This guy has one of the most epic feels in Twilight Princess. For the first part of the fight, you're spinning around on the spinner, and all you have to do is attack his spine. Each time you do, 4 enemies pop up to try to block you. Once you finally knocked him down enough times, he'll break apart. You raise the platform, and then you remember you forgot to kill the head. Enter round 2. Now you're just hopping from wall to wall on that spinner until you knock him down and slay him. Man, the only thing that would make this fight more epic is if you put a fan next to you, so you can get a real feeling for your surroundings. Remember, I said that the first boss in each Zelda game will not be in the bosses who shouldn't be a boss section. Having said that, this is one of the most challenging first bosses in a Zelda game you're ever going to find. He's got multiple attacks, and his sword can reach a long distance. Yeah, you can go back and you can beat him pretty easily, but just remember, the first time you fight him, you've only got 3 hearts, and you don't have a sword upgrade. Meaning the first time you fight him, it will be challenging. That's why it's fun. 2nd place. It's either you have a good defense as an offense, or a good offense as a good defense. This guy seems to have it covered. But first you'll have to get him off the ceiling. Then you have to go in for his attack pattern. He uses those jellyfish as both his defense and his attack, so you have to get rid of him first. Then once he's vulnerable, you nail him. But he's not stupid enough to stay vulnerable. He'll go down and let his antennas do all the work. Definitely making for one of the more memorable boss fights in Ocarina of Time, especially the way he dies. Gross, but cool. Okay, granted this guy shares a lot of similarities with the previous entry, but there's one little difference that I like more about this guy than the previous one. The last one, you had to wait for him to stop before you could throw that boomerang. This one, you throw and roll, and watch out for those vines. And even when you bring him down, he can still attack you if you don't get out of his clutches in time. There's very little time to waste, and yet to constantly stay on your toes, which is why I like this fight. It doesn't waste time. Well, that's it for the 5 I love to fight, excluding Phantom Ganon, and here are my 5 who shouldn't be a boss. 5th place. For something that's supposed to test your skills to see if you're worthy enough to carry the Master Sword, you'd think he'd put up a better fight. Lock onto the hands, shoot them with the arrows, and then shoot his eyes and then throw a bomb in his mouth. It acts a lot like the Bongo Bongo boss from Ocarina of Time, which wasn't that challenging either. The only challenge this guy has is just waiting for him to stand still so he can get a good shot. For what appears to be the most advanced piece of technology in Hyrule, it really doesn't do that much. Really, really sad. 4th place. Okay, I admit, her intro gives off this whole horror movie vibe, but the only thing that's really scary is just how easy she is. Pretty much just keep swinging that ball and chain for the first phase, Then in the second phase, you have to wait for her to stop dropping those attacks, break them off until there's an open spot, then swing again. Repeat until she's defeated. Variety much? No. Depending on how you look at this boss, you either love it because you feel like a giant, or you're like me and think it's nothing more than an optical illusion, and the bosses are horribly designed. They only have one attack, and that's just to fly around in a random pattern. The environment feels like more of a threat because if you step outside of its invisible perimeter, you'll have to restart the fight all over again. The only reason there's two of them is to make it look like it's a threat. This boss fight is so easy it should have been the first boss fight in the game, not the last dungeon boss. The Goro Master sub-boss is tougher than these overgrown sandworms.
Second place!
You know what they say, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. All you have to do is shoot his red glowing eye, put the iron boots on, grab the chain, pull back, wait for him to fall, keep slashing him in the head, and repeat. If you do it fast enough, he won't be able to pull off an attack, which is probably why I don't remember what attacks he has. Even though this guy has a lot of variety by making you use 3 items, he's still easy. For being the first boss shown for this game, you'd think they'd put a little bit more effort into it.
Alright, first place!
This boss sucks, both metaphorically and literally. He's easy to figure out, easy to dodge, so why is he a threat? Because he's huge? Even if you run out of bombs, you can just pick him up. It's just one of the worst boss fights I've ever played through. The only cool thing about this guy is if you pull off that glitch that makes him light blue. I've been able to do it twice. Well, that's it for my 5 favorite 3D Zelda bosses I love to fight, and the 5 who shouldn't be a boss. Remember, this is just a personal list, so if you have your own list, leave a comment or make a video response.